Hello, welcome to day 3 of Who Week here on my channel. This is where we're going to be spending the week leading up to the launch of Series 11 with trying to do a video a day. I unfortunately have already recorded this particular video once already and then managed to completely lose the footage. Somehow, I don't know how, I deleted it, came to edit, looked for the footage, wasn't there. It's really quite annoying. On the plus side though, I've had a bit of a cold recently, and last time I recorded this video, my voice was very, very croaky. It's now only slightly croaky. You can probably still hear it, but it's now only very, very croaky. That's why I've still got my lovely honey and hot water drink. No lemon, because lemon is disgusting and bitter and horrible, and I will not have that near my hot drinks. But honey and hot water to soothe the throat. Now, yesterday we looked at the departing showrunner, Stephen Moffat, who has spent the last 8 years in charge of the show, and I ranked all of his episodes. If you want to see that, do check up there and click on the link, and there'll be one at the end as well, and probably in the description, I guess. Today, we're going to be looking at another individual that has left the show, Murray Gold, who has been the composer of the show for the last 13 years, since it returned in 2005. And during that time, there have been numerous soundtrack released albums that I own. I own lots of them. I don't own all of them. I own quite a lot of them. And I stream a lot more on Spotify. And I have my favourite tracks from those, which I return to again and again. So for today's little look back, I thought I would let you know 10 of my favourite Murray Gold tracks. Now, I should stress these are in no order. This is not a ranking. This is just 10 of my favourite tracks. So no particular order, and there are other good tracks I like as well. Some of them I've missed out just because they're in the same episode as some of the other ones, and I think I don't want too many from one episode. There are many reasons, but I thought I'd give you 10. So, should we get started? Let's get started. So the first track I want to talk about is Doomsday, which starts in this really gentle, haunting way with this single piano key played again and again, and that sort of haunting voice that comes in. It's a beautiful start to it. But it does ramp up, and towards the end of the song you've got these big drum beats which make it a really impactful song, and of course it's tied up with that moment, that very touching moment where it's related to Rose getting sucked into the other dimension and they're separated by the walls. So it pairs with a nice moment in the television series, which always helps if you can associate music that way to something that you remember particularly well from the series. But also, just as a piece of music by itself, I love the way it sort of gradually builds up from that sort of single piano key starting, and gradually builds up. Starting small and building up is something that Murray Gold does in a lot of his tracks, and a lot of my favourites of his tracks. In fact, I think it's a style I quite like. And another one he does it on is The Doctor Forever. It starts with this lovely singing voice, just singing notes, a bit less haunting this time, just sort of lovely, and then it gradually builds a little bit, and then suddenly it's into action and adventure and sort of a swashbuckling Doctor saves the day moments, which is lovely. It's epic. I'm going to reuse that word a lot, I think, because I like that word, epic. If I'm listening to orchestral type music, I like it to be epic, and this is that. This track kind of reminds me a little bit of the same sort of feeling, the end part of this reminds me of the same sort of feeling as I get when I'm listening to the Pirates of the Caribbean theme tune as well. That's why I use the word swashbuckling. It's very much action, adventure, kind of jumping in to save the day. It's a good one for getting your energy levels up, I think. Next, I want to talk about This Is Gallifrey, Our Childhood, Our Home. It's that moment in the end of Series 3 where he sat around the sort of little fire thing they've made with Jack and Martha, and he's telling them about his childhood with the Master and the history he has with the Master. And it's just such a lovely track to go along with that. It sort of swells with, and you can feel that it's a very nostalgic track. You can feel the nostalgia with it. And it's got another one of the sort of signature Murray Gold moves when it comes to his music is it's got that kind of pulsing beat, the and he does that in a lot of things, not that particular beat, but he has that kind of like that feeling where it's like pulsing, and it gives it a kind of, it gives it a real good edge, I think. It makes it feel exciting. Next I've got A Dazzling End from the Series 4 soundtrack. This is where in the programme all of the companions from the last 4 years have been reunited, gathered around the TARDIS console, and they're all helping fly the TARDIS to help defeat the Daleks. You've got Rose, you've got Mickey, I think, you've got Donna, you've got Martha, you've got Sarah Jane, and they're all gathered around the console, and it's this really, here's that word again, epic moment. I love the way the song builds to that epic moment. You start with, and it builds up the instruments one by one. So you start with the guitar playing this sort of this pulsing beat again, and then then it adds in some strings, and then it adds in some higher strings. I think they're strings. I'm not a musician. And then it adds a drum beat, and it just carries on. You know, as it builds and builds, layer upon layer on top of each other, and you've got this really brilliant sort of triumphant feel to it as they do on the show. It's the moment where they triumph, the moment where they win, and you can really feel that in the song. I love this track. It's a great one to get energized to. Now, I wanted to include on this list one song that was one of those ones that you got about once a year from the Russell T Davies era, where you had a composed song, but there was a song and not a orchestral piece, not an instrumental piece, but it was an actual song, but originally composed for the programme. This happened quite a lot in Russell T Davies era. I think it only happened once, I think, in Stephen Moffat's era. But I loved it when this happened. It was really nice to get a song that was like, you know, could have been a pop release at some point in history, a chart release at some point in history. And it was really difficult to pick between them because I love them all. But I only wanted to put one on the list because I didn't want too much similarity. And in the end, it came down between A Song for 10 and My Angel Put the Devil in Me. Song for 10 was from Christmas Invasion. Angel Put the Devil in Me is from The Daleks Take Manhattan. And in the end, I've gone from that latter one. Because I really do love a kind of like early 20th century swing jazz vibe that this has. I love that type of music generally, and the fact that they had a song in this. Another good contender was the one from the Christmas, from the, what's the Titanic episode? I forgot what the Titanic episode is called. Whatever that one's called. There's a song in that as well that's pretty good too. But no, this one is the one I'm going to pick. My Angel Put the Devil in Me. I just love the swing nature of it. The swing, jazz, 1920s, 1930s type feel to it. I Am the Doctor. This is the track I go to when I'm feeling a bit unmotivated. If I need to get some energy, if I need to really get a bit of oomph on my backside and do something, and I'm feeling like, oh God, I don't know if I can be bothered. I don't know if I can be bothered to go to the gym. I don't know if I can be bothered to go into town and do this. So I don't know, can't be bothered. Whatever it is. If I put this song on, I suddenly feel like, hey, I'm in the mood now. I can do this. I can get it done. It's definitely it's just so energetic. And so, I don't know, awe-inspiring. Is that the right word? Might be. Yeah, this is my go-to motivation song. Or at least it was until the Greatest Showman soundtrack came out. That's pretty good for motivation too. This is the greatest show! But not really relevant to this video. Next up is the Wedding of River song. Now I could take or leave the first 4 minutes of this song. It's perfectly nice. It's a very sweet, sort of flowing song, it's fine. It wouldn't be on this list if this song just had that. It's the last minute and a half that gets it in my favourites, and often I'll even start playing it and just skip to the end minute and a half because I love it so much. When the sort of, again, don't know my instruments very well, I'm going to say horn, or it's definitely some kind of wind instrument, comes in, horn, tuba maybe, I don't know, something that blows out a big type noise, comes in, and the pace picks up, and it's, again, I'm going to reuse the word, I know it's a word I keep reusing, but it's epic, it's absolutely epic, and I love it, I love the epic music. So yeah, it's kind of only the last minute and a half of this one I'm counting, but last minute and a half of the wedding of River Song. Now, I mentioned earlier that Stephen Moffat's era didn't really have the specially composed songs for his era. He had lots of brilliant orchestral music in his era, but not really songs. The one that he did have was from The Christmas Carol, and of course he did, because he had Katherine Jenkins in it, and that's probably the reason why she was hired. She was a great actress in it as well, I thought, but she was, let's face it, hired for the singing, and she's an opera singer if you don't know, and oh my word, it was amazing. Abigail's song is absolutely beautiful. It's written by Murray Gold, sung by Katherine Jenkins, and it's, I mean, I've got nothing else to say to it other than it is absolutely beautiful, and it's definitely one I could listen to sort of go off to sleep maybe. The Majestic Tale of a Madman in a Box is, I love the whole song, I do, I love it, but again it's the last minute that I really love. It's when the choral singing kicks in, it's when the tempo starts up and the beat sort of really kicks in, and oh, it's so good. I have decided that I want this track to be my funeral track. I want to be carried down the aisle, I want my coffin carried down the aisle to this. I just think it would be epic. I think it would be, certainly something everyone's going to remember. And yeah, I should put that in my will, shouldn't I? This should play as my coffin is carried down. I absolutely love this track, and I often listen, it's kind of my second motivation track after the last one. I'll just put it on and just be like, oh yeah. Pump of energy, pump of adrenaline. That's what this one gives you. It gives you adrenaline. It's great. That last bit. Oh, and the choral music is just, the choral singing in it is beautiful. In an ideal world, if I was a millionaire at my funeral, at the time of my funeral, I would also put in my will that they have to hire an actual choir to sing this. That's how much I want this. And hell, why not? Whole orchestra. I want this played live. I want it sung live at my funeral. Okay, we're to the last one on the list. Now, you will have noticed that all of the tracks I've chosen so far are from the first 6 years of the revival. I haven't done anything past that. And for the most part, I think that's because that's the period where Murray Gold was doing his best work. Most of it. Most of his best work was in that early things. And one of the reasons I haven't bought a lot of the later albums is because I've listened to them, and there hasn't been there's been some good tracks on there, but there haven't been enough tracks where I've gone, wow, that is amazing, in order to buy the album. And therefore I haven't become as familiar with the music because I haven't bought the album, and therefore they're not on the list. But the exception to that is this next and final pick, because The Shepherd's Boy from Heaven Sent is amazing. I mean, the whole score to this whole episode is amazing, but I didn't want to pick more than one track from this particular episode, so I've gone for this one. And It's a bit hard to match up sometimes, but I think it's the moment where he's punching through the diamond, and it's that it builds into this brilliant crescendo, and it's amazing as he works it all out. And it does build into this crescendo, and it is very epic, but in a very different way to some of the other tracks that I put on this list. It builds it in a very slow, kind of gentle way, but it still builds. And like I said, the whole soundtrack to that episode is brilliant, which is why it's got a whole CD on the Series 9 soundtrack all to itself, just for one episode, because all the music in that episode is so good. But if I had to pick one from it, it's going to be this one. So there you go, that's my favourite Murray Gold tracks. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'm on day 3 of my week leading up to the new series. Series 11 starts on Sunday. Yay! Do check out some of the previous videos, the previous 2 videos from Who Week so far. We have day 1 was talking about Stephen Moffat's very first story, Curse of the Fatal Death. Do check it out. And then day 2 we were talking about, I was ranking all Stephen Moffat written episodes, so do check that out as well. And there should be a subscribe button somewhere as well, so why not hit that? Go on, you know you want to. See you tomorrow for another video. Bye.